Welcome back to Brave Ideas, where we chat with the leaders in commercial real estate to answer all questions space as a service and help office real estate reposition to meet the evolving demand from the future of work. This podcast is for anyone involved in commercial real estate in any way. If you're an investor, fund manager, developer, landlord, operator, property manager, agent, or broker, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you prefer to watch the full episode and join our newsletter, head over to braveideas.media.
I'm your host, Caleb Parker, and for this episode, I'm joined in the Mute showroom in Clerkenwell, London, by Emilie Lashmar, director and producer of GCUC. That's GCUC, or Global Coworking and Conference. With the next edition taking place next week in London, I wanted to sit down with Emilie to go behind the scenes of what makes her tick. Why Juicy? Why coworking? And how the heck does she balance work and mom life? Get ready to be inspired as we hit brand, community, and bringing in enterprise without losing the soul of coworking. If you're in London next week for Juicy UK, this is your primer. Here's my conversation with Emilie.
Emilie, we're going to kick off this special collaboration between Brave Ideas and Juicy UK. I've been wanting to sit down with you for quite some time. I've been to a lot of Juicies. I was at the first one in London several years ago, 2018 I think it was, did a handstand. But you and I have been catching up the last couple of years now, and I wanted to get behind the scenes of Emilie. Why Juicy UK? Why coworking? I want to go backwards in your story so everyone listening can see the behind the scenes. Is that okay with you?
That's absolutely fine. I did sign up for it, didn't I?
You did, yes. Okay. Well, I thought I would just introduce it that way.
Yeah.
But no, on a serious note.
Well, thank you for having me, though.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm looking forward to continued participation in Juicy, and you always put on a great show, especially the after party.
Yeah, so it's a fun time.
Let's get down to business. Why Juicy UK?
Why GCUK, or how GCUK?
How did you get involved?
I think I'm going to tell people that it is the global co-working on conference community. And I mean, that is a mouthful to say, so Juicy works. How did I get involved? So I started at a co-working space in Platform 9, which was founded by a man called Seb Royal back in 2016. Pretty much employee number one, not quite, but pretty much employee number one. He likes to tell me I was employee number one. And I worked there for about 6.5 years, and it was one of the best times of my life. I think previous to that, I worked for myself, and I missed working with other people. I've always built community, done events, promoted other people, and to take that into somewhere like a co-working space where it's filled with solopreneurs or freelancers or startups, scale-ups even that we had in there. There's a richness to it that really kept me there. It's like no 2 days are the same. There's always something new going on. There's always something to learn. There's always somebody to get to know. It was electric. It took over my entire life. Like I loved it. You'd cut me and I'd be Platform 9 Red, which was the brand red that I got to work with the designers on and create the brand there. We were aware of Juicy through their events, and I think Seb participated a few times. I got to go with him to London. I think the first one I went to maybe was in 2017, 2018. We won a Juicy award for our space in Ho for Best Design Space. I think Anthony Slumbers was on the panel at the time, and Best Community Award. So we were really involved in it. And through that, I met the previous producer, Tim. He lives in Ovingdean, which is really close to Brighton. And he didn't come from a co-working or flex background. And so in that very co-working way, was very generous with, our problems, what we were facing, brands that I aspired to, introducing him to people, because it's all about making the industry better, really. That's the kind of ethos behind it. Fast forward to, when was it now? We're 2025 now, so maybe 2023. He let me know he was thinking of leaving Juicy, and I told him that I was thinking of leaving Platform 9. Platform 9 wasn't growing anymore. I had come back from maternity leave, and I'd hired somebody great to kind of look after the company when I was on mat leave. Because it wasn't growing anymore, there was nowhere for me to go, really. And I really wanted to stay in the industry, but after, when you're so entangled in a brand, like there's no way that I could have worked for another co-working brand in Brighton and Hove. And the whole point of Platform 9 was to live and work like near where you live. So there was no way I was getting on that train to London to go work for another brand. And but I still really wanted to be in co-working, and he just thought, you'd be perfect. And I'd met Liz and Stormy before, and then we just started the conversations from there. And yeah, that's how it started.
I hadn't heard all of those details before, but I heard some of this, and I did get a chance to meet Tim back in the day, and the juicies that he was involved in were quite enriching. Before him, Justin Harley kicked it off in the UK.
Yeah.
And Anti-Slumbers is always a good shout out. Got to give credit to Liz and Stormy for doing this around the world for our industry. It's huge.
Yeah.
And before co-working was on the map, they took up the torch, and it's clearly on the map now, right?
Yeah. 2012, I think, is when Liz sort of started it back as like a small meetup. And I think Liz would always say Enrico Sana went to one of the first ones and created Fora out of it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like amazing. And Adam Newman went to this. And then I listened to the Enrico Sana podcast that he did with Liz, and he was like, yep, it's because I went to that meetup. I was like, yeah, it's just badass.
And I think people like Enrico coming in and bringing the hospitality mindset, and other people like him bringing that hospitality mindset, has transformed co-working from what it was organically a way to bring a community together to becoming more of a service-driven. I mean, obviously people were serving their community then, but we've taken it up a notch. It's become a professional industry now, thanks to the conferences like Juicy.
Yeah, I think it's there's always that tension, isn't there? I think we've spoken about it before, of like the purest form of co-working and flex, and now we've got managed, and what is the difference? I mean, I still think it's all co-working, really, but you know, you can kind of use it interchangeably, but it almost is like a corporate speak for co-working, but it's got so many of the same, it's got the same ethos to it. And obviously the hospitality element and the design aspect is something that I truly love. Like, who doesn't want to be in spaces that inspire you, that will give you a dopamine hit, where you'll feel looked after, where you'll feel that belonging? You're going to do better work if you're in those spaces. So I think that it's only a good thing that it's going in that direction.
One of the things that I always love and what's inspiring to me is that, if you think about like big companies, Meta, Amazon, you hear all the amazing, cool things that they do for their teams. The average company can't afford those budgets, but our industry provides a lot of those cool things for people to come in and work together and experience. And so when you talk about design and the brand aspect of delivering that for a community, I think that's spot on. So going back from your time at Platform 9 in that experience, to now being part of Juicy and working with the different brands across the UK. What have you seen evolve? What's changed, either in a good way, or what are the challenges that you see existing right now?
I think that's semi-hard to answer, mainly because I think when I think of co-working and flex in the UK, there are so many different brands, flavours, different types. So I think one of the things that I've definitely seen is that the more corporate flex brands that I would say might have beautiful designed buildings, concierge service, that kind of thing, are really deepening their understanding of what brand and community is. And I think there's been learnings that they can probably find through the smaller, more independent operators. I think that's when smaller operators were really winning with that before. And I think that now, through good work that we all do, we want everyone to succeed. They're really clocking onto that a lot more. So that can be quite a challenge for those smaller brands. That's something that I've seen. But things like what you're doing, like members clubs, things where it really integrates what people need, that's not just an office or not just the culture, not just a gym. It can have everything all in one that people don't want to leave. Like you mentioned, those huge businesses like Facebook, Meta, Google, they have campuses. The whole intention of those places is so that their employees don't ever have to leave, like whether that's sinister or not. it's a smart way of thinking about it where you are preempting what your employees might need in order for them to do their best work and to be the most productive and also to get the best talent to work for your company. So, yeah.
I think hopefully it's not sinister, and I like to think about it as helping remove friction from people's lives. And so when they choose to come in, it's a joy, and maybe they choose it more because it's a joy. But if they don't choose it on a particular day, it's okay still, because people have other things to do besides work, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned a word earlier, purist, and you touched on the smaller operators and growing and the challenges there. Is it possible, or how can in your view, a small purist co-working operator scale without losing the intentions and the authenticity of their brand?
Well, I mean, we were kind of talking around that earlier, and I don't have the answer to this. Like, I don't have, like, from a personal view, when we were at Platform 9, we were looking to grow, and that challenge of how do you capture the vibe? How do you get that brand that's been so successful that, people love? You've got great brand loyalty. Everyone tells you all the time that it's got this stickiness factor to it. So everyone's telling you how great it is, and you can feel it. How do you translate that to another location or another place? And I think that there are definitely ways that you can do that. You can write certain playbooks. You can, how did you build the community in the first place? A lot of the time, it will be the location. So think about who you're actually serving in that location, like working with people that are natively from that place is a good way to start. Understanding who's in your space and why they come there. But I think that there are, I'm a brand person, so I've written brand books that have, marketing, community and brand, like Bible essentially. But it's not going to work if the team there don't understand it, have the training, and use it in all of their decisions.
So just on that, then, is the advice you're kind of seeping out here to an owner or management to recruit based on the values that people share versus they can tick certain boxes on Excel or what have you?
Yeah, no, it definitely. I mean, if you're going to do that, you want to hire people. You want to use your values and you want to use your brand not just as a logo on a wall or a set of 5 values that sit in a drawer. You want to actually operationalize your brand in many, many different ways. You can do that from your hiring process. I find the HR thing quite boring, but there are ways that you can weave all of that into the inner workings and the ops of the business. I think you will find a challenge if you have an operational team or a sales team that just think brand is fluff and they don't really understand what it is. So I still think there's education around it and being a brand first business. And you should be building your brand or creating that before even doing any of your marketing out there, because you really need to get the essence of who that company is. And a lot of that really needs to come from the founder. That's the kind of lifeblood of a brand. But there are ways to kind of share that, and then you get people to buy into it, and then your customers, and then it kind of speaks for itself.
I've seen over the years really good salespeople in our industry and in what was the predecessor to co-working called serviced offices or executive suites in the U.S. And there's a lot of good salespeople from that industry. Some have gone into the broker world and some have gone back into the operator world. And they can flog a desk all day long and they know how to close deals. But I've also seen a disconnect from the brand from those salespeople sometimes. Not everybody. There's some really good brand salespeople as well. And how do you bridge the gap between that disconnect from a great salesperson and the brand? That's a difficult thing to do. You agree? So I wonder if there's a future juicy topic around that we can grab some of the experts from our industry to dive into bridging the gap between really good sales and getting the brand into the sales process.
Yeah, I think that would be really great to explore, because I think from what I've seen when it comes to great salespeople is that they don't tend to move around a little bit, but their skills are so transferable that really, if I was in their shoes, I'd be looking for, who's going to pay me the most? Where are the perks coming from? And, you can sell. If you're a good salesperson, you can sell anywhere. I mean, it's different with co-working, right? Because a lot of the time, obviously you're selling multiple things, but a space and how somebody feels when they walk into a space says a lot more than what somebody could be actually telling you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're choosing a co-working space or a place to house your business, you would probably have a short list. You would go and see them all, and you would get a sense and a feel for which one feels right for you. It's the same thing that when my daughter, when we were choosing her nursery, I had a Notion database of all of the nurseries, how far away they were from the house, how expensive they were, looked at all the Google reviews. And then really it just came down to, I went to see them all. And the one that I felt, this feels like I want my daughter here, or this feels more comfortable for me, that's the one I chose. And it was because the nursery manager was taking like a row of 2-year-olds up the stairs, and they were going to their board meeting. And I was like, any nursery that is going to listen to 2-year-olds and co-create like what they're learning at this nursery is where I want my daughter to go. But I think that
she's going to come out with an MBA now.
Well, hopefully. But yeah, so what I'm saying is that it's your brand and your physical space it's how people feel, right? So what somebody is necessarily saying, it's not always like the be all and end all.
Yeah, the feeling piece is massively important, and I think a lot of people now are saying we need to move away from competing against price and desks and free Wi-Fi and flexible space, because we all have that. And what's really going to set us apart is how somebody feels, and how somebody feels is going to be on the vibe and the energy and the values that you communicate.
Yeah. I was actually having, I know you've spoken to Amy Taylor before in your podcast, and I think I got introduced to her when I was looking for a speaker for the first GC Manchester.
She's great.
Yeah, she was so generous with her like time and her contacts, and she helped me get a great speaker. She's amazing. But I think I asked her the question actually, which was, as a broker, do you know the brand? Like, do you understand? Because their job is to find like the best workspace for their clients. And I was like, you know your clients, like, you know their business, but that's part of like what makes them great at their job, right? And then I was like, but how well are the co-working operators communicating their brand, or how much do you understand so that you're able to marry that company with the right place that they want to be? Because it doesn't always come down to price. Like, a company choosing an office is going to think about so many different things. Obviously, if they're super price sensitive, but then they might not be taking a premium workspace in the first place. They'll just be. So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. She didn't necessarily give, I can't remember.
Well, on that episode I did with her, I asked her a similar question, and she did answer. And
what did she say?
She said that the brand has become a lot more important for her customers. The brand alignment between the company's brand and values and the brand values that are being communicated by the co-working operator. And it's the values, it's the aesthetics, it's the vibe, it's the energy, it's the type of people that are in there
and
that they want to align with.
So I was talking to a broker that's been around for a really, really long time, like an online broker. And I was talking to this guy, and I asked him the question, do you think people will be choosing their workspace based on brand? And he went, absolutely not. That's rubbish. No one's going to choose their office like they would, a T-shirt. I said, well, sir, I don't think you really understand brand then, because it's nothing to do with like having the logo above your office. Like, obviously that can come into it, but I was like, you don't understand it then.
But I have to say, I spend quite a bit of time in the morning sometimes figuring out which T-shirt I'm going to wear, besides my Brave T-shirts.
I was going to say, you always wear your Brave T-shirts, right? How many do you have?
But no, I think it depends on the day, what you're going to... If you're just wearing a white T-shirt underneath a button-down, maybe you don't think about it. But if you're going to go out somewhere, you might think about the shirt you're going to wear. What does it say? What is it, a Batman T-shirt? Is there a motivational message on it? Is it representing your city? There's all kind of things people do spend time choosing their T-shirts. Yeah,
and I mean, that's like that can come into so many different things. Like, that's personal brand. Like, today I was told, don't wear stripes. They're not good on film. So, there are certain practicalities, but also it's around, what message do you want to portray? I think, how do you want to be perceived? What are you trying to get out of certain situations? I think brand is so much bigger than just what that guy was assuming, which was, you know, showing off because you have maybe a Gucci logo on a t-shirt. Who does that impress, really?
Yeah, no, I get it. I think that that it's the aesthetics, the values, the people that are in a workplace. If you're choosing your place that you choose to call your office home, your business home, it's going to say a lot to your customers. It's going to say a lot to your team that you're trying to recruit. So I think that matters.
I think it also depends on like the type of business that you are. So I follow Dan Murray. He's the founder of Heights, which is like a multivitamin company. He posted a photo of his new office straight away. I mean, maybe this is because I know co-working, but I was like, oh, you're in a huckle tree.
Okay.
Like, yeah, and he was like, yeah, like goals, you know, and that brand being in somewhere like a huckle tree makes complete sense, like if you understand the huckle tree brand, and you could tell by the iridescent like office thing. So there are certain like visual cues, like certain things that you might be using all the time, and that just strengthens both of their brands as well. Like there's brand alignment with that and the opportunities that Heights might get from being in huckle tree and vice versa.
So in 2024, in the workshop session of Juicy UK, you had a whole brand session that thankfully I was able to participate in. I was able to participate in and join. It was a great conversation. Will there be more and more conversations around brand at Juicy?
Yeah, so we have Coral Ibrahim, who is the founder of the Ready House. He's not necessarily, he has worked within co-working, but it's a branding and like communications agency. And he talks a lot about physical space. So it might be the high street. It might be, I just saw a post he did this morning. He went to the NEC in Birmingham to speak at an event, and the food offering that they had there wasn't particularly great for now. And he was talking about the experience of even going into somewhere like a conference venue and what that means. So he's going to do a keynote and then have a fireside chat with Liz all around joining, not just buying. So what does joining into a space mean? It's not, I think, with co-working, it doesn't feel that transactional. You're there, yes, they are giving you money on a monthly basis, but I think that it is a lot more of a high value kind of exchange between people. It's a lot deeper than that. So he'll be talking about how brands can encourage people to join. So I think you will really enjoy that one. I did think of you when I booked him and thought, I think Caleb will learn a lot, and he'd like what Cora has to say.
I'm looking forward to that one. And so I'm going to jump around a little bit in this conversation, but if I kind of go back and distill this down. So Emilie's career started out, you were an entrepreneur yourself, you were building communities in your entrepreneurial career. You found co-working as being a place to connect with other people. You joined Platform 9 to be able to help support building communities and support entrepreneurs in that community. And then when that time ended, you wanted to continue doing that in some way. That led you to Juicy UK via Tim and Liz and Stormy. Why, why co-working, and why co-working?
I mean, fundamentally, it all comes down to a love of people, which I know is super fluffy, but I love people. I love seeing people succeed. I love connecting other people. I like it when people are together. I think there's strength in, networks of people, communities of people, and I always have done throughout my life. And I think with co-working, if I can help support co-working operators, then you're getting it's all the people that were in those spaces. So it has a bigger impact than just helping a certain amount of businesses. I'm helping the businesses that help businesses. And for me, that's really important. It's all about the end user to succeed in whichever way that what success defines for them, whether it's monetary or a work integration or childcare or rejuvenating the high street, anything that's about improving the lives of people is, and I think co-working is a great vehicle to do that.
It's a noble cause. I saw a quote the other day on Instagram. I'll paraphrase it because I'm going to get it wrong, but something about when you make an impact on somebody's life, you're not just making an impact on their life, you're making a ripple effect in all the lives of the other people that they touch. I think teachers, for instance, teachers are great at good teachers are great at that, right? Because they're teaching so many people, and those people go on to do whatever. So if co-working operators are supporting all these entrepreneurs and people that hopefully pursuing some sort of purpose and mission in their business, and you're then helping those co-working, imagine the impact you're having on the world.
You know, you got to do a small bit of what you can in this really messy world, and I think just following the good of that is worthwhile. Makes me feel good about myself.
You should. Now, I've said the word entrepreneurs about 25 times in the past couple minutes, but co-working is not just about entrepreneurs. It's not just about freelancers. It is about them, but it's not just about them. And you strongly believe that.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that, you know, there are a lot of people might think of co-working and they immediately go to, I hope they don't still go to ping pong tables, but, you know, they think that
some people might. It's okay.
Some people, yeah, it's fine. If you like ping pong, maybe I think a padel club is probably more apt for now, isn't it?
Definitely trending.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, much larger companies or like big corporate companies, whether they have satellite offices, I think the flexibility is what people need now. And that is what Flex and co-working can offer. You can grow, you can downsize, you can have meeting room credits, you can have day passes. Like the way that people are working right now is changing. I mean, I would not want to be an office manager or a head of, like, I would not want to be in charge of having to organize it all. But I think co-working and flexible workspace providers are perfectly geared to be the solution to that. And that doesn't stop at a 50-desk office. You know, anyone can kind of benefit from it.
Because we're all competing for the same talent, and people are people.
Yeah.
When WeWork was on the up, and maybe they are again now, I was watching this and seeing how, like, they really got their brand to market fit right. Do your life's work or choose your life's work kind of thing, right? And they were really after that purpose-driven individual and entrepreneur. But I think often corporates, enterprise companies, they want the innovation that these fast-growing companies have, and they want to bring that in. That's why they acquire them, right? But when WeWork was growing, I was like, it's inevitable that the corporates are going to go to WeWork at some point, because they're seeing these environments that have this buzzy atmosphere, and it's creating this opportunities for growth. They're going to want that. And sure enough. So I think everything you're saying is right there. But then going back to the brand, how would you advise a co-working brand that is a purist, is growing, getting more locations, wants to start attracting the corporates? How do they not sacrifice the entrepreneur vibe, the freelance vibe, their current customers with the flex corporates coming in?
I think I'm just going to tell a little like background story. So when I started at Platform 9, we had 6,000 square feet of space, and it was completely empty. There was no one there. We had a beautiful space, and we had a large enterprise company that was interested in taking, so 6,000 square feet of space. I think 2 at the front was co-working, kitchen, meeting rooms. The rest were private offices. The smallest was 2. The largest at the back were maybe 20 each. They wanted to take over half of that space. They came in for a tour, and I remember seeing Seb, the founder at the time, was talking to the team and saying, "What did you think of it?" And they were like, "It's okay." And they left, and he was like, "I'm not going to do that deal. Like, no way am I going to do that deal." And I'm sat there going, "We've been open for 2 months and we haven't sold any of these offices. Like, do the deal." And he was so, like, he really stuck to his guns to say, it will change the entire feel of the space if we have one company, because they wanted to take, like, you know, so many of these offices, knock all the walls down. It was like, it would change the whole feel of it. They will dominate. Because we were only 6,000 square feet of space, right? We were small, so that made perfect sense. But I remember thinking, this man is crazy. Am I even going to have a job next month? But it paid off. Like, we managed to put them into a lovely little managed unit, and they were still able to benefit from the buzziness in the community that we did initially build up. And that was kind of the way that it worked. It was that you can have these tucked away, well, not necessarily tucked away, I'm not trying to hide the enterprise clients, but they get the fringe benefits of having this really energetic space, as you say.
I think it's a hard decision that we all face at some point. You have to make a commercial decision versus the vibe decision, maybe. And you know, if your occupancy's slow to ramp up or suffering, you've taken a big hit or something, it's tempting. So Ian and I were debating this the other day, and he was saying how, like, on our co-working floors, we still have private studios in those floors, but in our co-working floors, if we had too much of the same category coming in, industry or whatever, he would want to like limit it. And I was like, well, why would you limit that? And he said, well, because they would dominate, that floor and divide. We debated whether that made sense or not, and ultimately it's going to come down to an individual choice and decision and everything. But I think this is where the product stacking comes in. When you start out thinking about your entire footprint, how do you spatially allocate to the co-working and knowing you're going to be disciplined there, but then allow for those larger footprints to come in. And it's not necessarily putting them somewhere else, but often those companies want their own branded vibe with access to the other one, like the other energy, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And so I think you're spot on there.
And also from like commercially, like you need them. Like the co-working in the individual sense, so in the individual monthly membership sense, they pay the least, they take up the most amount of your team's time. Like they bring so much value, but they can be harder work necessarily. Like it's more high touch in terms of like what they might need. They're also on shorter monthly rolling contracts. Like you need to have those enterprise clients that might be signing up for 2 years. Like that gives you those anchor tenants. Like
it's the plus not versus mindset that I like to talk about.
It's the blend.
Not just the coffee. So in your Platform 9 example you gave just a moment ago, you said it ended up working out. You put them in, they had their own space. What did the mix end up looking like?
I mean, Brighton's quite a unique place. I would say that there's so many, micro businesses. So, and we had such a breadth. We had circus performers, we had PR people, we had IT spec. It was every single type of industry or job. Like you wouldn't even know some of these jobs existed. Like the people that we met, we had writers, artists. It was wonderful, and I loved that blend because they were all working together. It was almost like, they're paying X amount per month for their monthly membership, but the return on that they would get through the jobs and the projects that were created was like obviously very, very sticky. I think that's what I thought was the best way to do it back then. And I thought that if you had very niche or specific industry spaces, you wouldn't necessarily get that, that same energy. And then I was talking to the guys from Until, who are very like wellness, focused, and they have different practitioners, but they all together, and they're very much of a niche. And I said, do you still get all of that collaboration? And he said, yeah, like we really do. Like we have PTs that are sharing clients, like they're sharing knowledge. I was like, that's amazing, because like back in 2016, I didn't think that that's the way that it was. But I think there are benefits to both now, which is...
Yeah, I was at an event yesterday, and Zach Goodman was on the panel from TSP, and he said it very eloquently on a different topic, but I think it applies here. He talks about having sort of like generic space, and then offering the customer to add on optionality on what they wanted to it, versus having a very focused space that's got all this inclusive stuff. And he said you need to have the both exist in the universe; they can both work. I think in this case, we can have niche spaces like tech space, focus on the tech community. You've got Level 39, focus on fintech.
Space Made and Hale House with health tech.
Yeah, health tech. They've got the Y Studio coming up, or Studio Y. It's focused on creators. I think you can niche out on a category, and I think you can also have very successful operations or brands that are, if the person feels like they belong there, they do. It's a mix of people. So I think both exist in the world. We've got enough addressable market out there. So that's interesting. So, okay, I want to close this out. It's been great, by the way. Going back to the behind the scenes of Emilie, but then also look forward. So planning ahead in the last couple of weeks before a big conference, I'm sure is stressful. So first, I want to know, how do you handle the stress? And second, what are we expecting from Juicy in the years to come?
Okay, good question. Stress is something...
Is it stressful for you?
I mean, the first year felt very stressful, but I think that's because you are... I think when I had to get to know the entire industry. So I spent a lot of time just putting myself out there, getting to meet people. And thankfully, people like yourself are generous and gave me a bit of, gave me some of your time. But that felt not stressful, but that felt harder. Now I think I've got so many systems in place and things that it doesn't feel as stressful as before. I'm also doing a lot less freelance work than I used to do because kind of going all in. Wanting to go all in. But in terms of stress, going to the gym, actually trying to switch off at weekends. I mean, I have a young daughter, and previously I would try to be a good mum and also be working at the same time. And I don't do that anymore. I'm like, when I'm working, I know what I need to get done that day, what's going to make me feel like I've had a successful and productive day, so that I'm able to close my laptop and then be a really present mother, because I don't want to feel like I'm bad at either. So that kind of helps. And in terms of the future of Juicy UK, I'd love to do more kind of intimate, like roundups or group kind of conversations with people. I think I love Juicy Manchester because there's around 130 people, and I feel like you're going to meet more people. The vibe is very different to London, which is more around 230 people. So I think even bringing that down, I think will create better connections for people. I think that CEOs have a lot of groups and supper clubs and things that they can do. And I think that Pauline, like our mutual friend, is doing great work with the community managers, and we've got Flock that's coming up where we both know, like Sam and James, that's doing that for the future leaders. I kind of feel like, I want this mid-range, like this director or head of level where it can be quite lonely when you are reporting directly into a CEO or a founder, and you also have a team that rely on you, and you have all these external stakeholders. So yes, the CEO's role is very stressful, but so is being the person that has to follow up and do all that work. And I think that peer-to-peer support for that level, I think, is something that I want to explore. Should probably check with Liz and Stormy that that's okay to say, but that's something that I'd love to do.
Well, Juicy has the community aspect that people can join the Juicy community and connect online, and then if you bring that to life in more consistent throughout the year live sessions, whether that's Zoom live or in person, that sounds fascinating.
That's the thing. I think before Juicy London was once a year in the autumn. I really wanted to do an event that would speak to the regions a little bit more. So we've done it in Manchester now, earlier in the year. But I think having those points throughout the year, so it does keep the community together. And then we have these sort of larger, big events, will really just strengthen the brand and strengthen the connections.
That sounds exciting. And so if people are listening today, if they're interested in this, they should get in touch with you then?
Yes, please do. Find me on LinkedIn or go to uk.juicy.co and just get in touch.
Emilie, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
all you're doing for the industry. Thanks for sharing your behind-the-scenes ways you handle stress and your story, how you got started. And it's been great to get to know you the last couple of years.
The same.
Looking forward to everything you're doing.
Always a cheerleader, Caleb, and I appreciate you.
Fist bump. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take care of yourself.
If you've enjoyed this episode, you'll enjoy our Brave Ideas newsletter. Subscribe today by tapping on the link in the show notes. And don't forget, I'm always on the lookout for buildings to acquire and reposition with brand-led hospitality. If you know a building I should look at or an owner looking to sell or partner with, drop me a DM or contact us at bravecorp.co. Until next time, take care of yourself.